Okay, so we're at the Sunbeam stand here at Stafford, and we've come across, or it definitely caught our eye, this gorgeous Henderson inline 4, which belongs here to Steve, who's going to talk us through this fantastic looking bike. So Steve, what year and what model is this?
This is a 1920 Model K Henderson.
Okay.
They only made the Model K for 1920 and 21, and then moved on to an improved version of it that they called the Deluxe. But as far as I'm aware, this is the only Model K in the UK.
Oh wow, so very rare, and even more rare in this country then to see one of these. Is it a bike you've had very long?
I bought this in 1993 as a project that needed quite a bit of work doing to it. It was a kit of parts.
Okay.
Some of the parts weren't for the Henderson at all. They were just included in the pile to make it look more complete than it really was. And it was only once I'd got it all home and started looking at things that I realised that some of the bits were wrong. At the time, I knew nothing at all about Hendersons, so it really was I'd never even heard about a make called a Henderson. So it really was a case of research and find bits and pieces. They're rare. It's an American bike. So bits and pieces had to be made, because you just can't get hold of them. But I was lucky enough to pick up various bits from different countries around the world, literally.
So it's a 4-cylinder, is it side valve? Or
it's a 4-cylinder side valve engine, 1301 cc. Wow. The first production motorcycle that was fitted with pressure-fed lubrication to the mains and big end on the crankshaft. Wow. The oil pump is external on the front, down the bottom there.
It's quite a refined machine.
The oil pump down the bottom.
So is there pressure gauge for the
pressure
oil
gauge.
there?
Interestingly, not a very high pressure.
Okay.
The book actually says if it reads 5 to 10 psi, it's good. If it drops to 0 when you stop or stand still, don't worry, as long as it picks up again when you open the throttle.
Okay. Oh, is that what it says in the book? Go with that. In terms of the controls then, what we've got going on here?
Some of them are conventional.
Yeah.
We've got a right-hand throttle, and on this bike, a right-hand front brake.
Okay.
The original Model K Hendersons didn't have any front brake at all.
Wow.
But what we'd also have is a foot clutch.
Foot clutch, okay.
So if you've got a foot clutch this side and a foot brake that side, how do you do a hill start with no front brake?
Ah, good point.
So right from day one, I decided it was going to be a bike I wanted to ride on the roads.
Okay.
And even what brakes there are not brilliant, so I definitely wanted a front brake. So that's something I've added, which the purists will say shouldn't be there.
It's a safety feature, practical feature that you need.
Yeah, throttle, front brake. This side we've got the ignition, advance and retard.
Okay,
which is used quite a bit actually. Most more modern vintage bikes, you'd use the advance and retard to retard it a bit for starting and then leave it alone. But on these, once you get it into top gear, you can ride on the throttle and the advance and retard, and you just leave it in top until you come to a standstill.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
It'll pull away from less than walking pace in top gear if you retard the ignition. As I said, foot clutch. That's the bit that takes a bit of getting used to, because when you put your foot on the clutch, it's obviously underneath the handlebar. If you're turning left at a T-junction, the handlebar's around there. As you start to lift your foot off the clutch and move away,
you're going to foul on there.
Your knee jams on the handlebar. Your natural reaction then, because you're wobbling, your natural reaction is to quickly put your foot on the ground, and this bike will not stall.
Right, so
when you do that, you're on your way.
Right, okay, quirks.
So that takes a bit of getting used to. We've got a couple of hand levers here. This one is the clutch lever. That is your foot clutch, and you can put that on the ratchet to hold the clutch in.
Neutral.
Now this is where I admit to a failing, because the people that did the plating on these brackets here polished it so much that they rounded off the ratchet, and it's not unusual for that to suddenly fling back. But to be honest, all the time I've ridden it, I've never used that anyway, so it's not an issue, but eventually I'll get round to it. This is the gear change, forward for 1, neutral where it is now, second back here, third gear, 3 gears in total.
3 speed, yep.
Back here. This one is the reverse gear.
Oh wow, okay.
An awful lot of these were fitted to sidecars.
Yes, yeah,
So
okay.
reverse gear with a sidecar is a big bonus. So that's reverse gear. This is what is termed in the book the emergency brake, which you use your heel on.
So you turn heel off the clutch.
And it's actually got a ratchet on it, so it holds it on. So it's ideal for sidecars because it's a parking brake.
Hold it like a parking brake. Yeah, okay.
That brake operates internally on the rear brake drum.
Right.
And that brake operates externally on the same brake drum. So the brake drum gets a bit warm.
It's getting
trying to stop in a hurry.
Yeah. Wow. And it's kickstart.
It's kickstart. No electric starts, I'm afraid. Kickstart.
But on the opposite side to where you see it on a Brit bike.
A lot of bikes are on the right, and some people don't like it on the left, but it's just one of those things you get used to.
And do you ride this bike?
I bought it in '93. Took 14 years to get it on the road. Rode it everywhere. I've used it on the Welsh Week with the Sunbeam Club a few times. I've done the Coventry to Brighton run on it. Rode all the way up to Coventry from the south coast and then back down to Brighton the following day. I've taken it on the continent, literally from home front door to door, across to Dover and across. Did about 8,000 odd miles on it. Was doing a little bit of work at home on the carburettor and running it up and down the road to see whether it had made any difference to the way it was running. And about 100 yards from home, got knocked off it by a lady who was driving around the corner, not really looking where she was going.
Oh no!
And completely wrecked the whole thing.
Really?
So this is the second incarnation.
It's second rebuild by
itself.
Second
rebuild, yeah.
Oh, well, that's an absolute credit to your devotion and ability, because it looks an incredible machine and a real pleasure to see it here at the show today, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for your interest.
Cheers, Steve.
Starting the Henderson. Not too many controls. This one is the throttle. Open it that way to go faster, down that way to slow down. On this side we've got another twist grip. This is the advance and retard for the ignition. Wind it inwards for fully advanced, push it outwards for retard. So we'll start with that on retard. Turn on the petrol. That's the petrol on. On the carburettor we have a sleeve which closes off some of the air so that it pulls it in past the hot exhaust once it's been running for a while, but I don't tend to use that very much at all, certainly not in warm weather, and I don't ride it much in cold weather. This is the choke, butterfly valve, so we'll push that round to there, and round this side we need to worry about on this side is the kickstart. So push that down, turn it round, a little bit of throttle, a little bit of retard, give it a